Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to day 30 of our Bhakti Vaibhava seminar on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. This is day 30, and today, on day 30, we are starting chapter 11. An interesting chapter. I mean, they're all extremely interesting, but this is very interesting. It is called Calculation of Time from the Atom. Wow, what a subject. First of all, of course, we must chant our prayers. Nama Om Vishnupada Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastucha Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Right, so devotees, day 30 of Bhakti Vaibhava seminar on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. And we are today beginning chapter 11, Calculation of Time from the Atom. Right, let's have a look at this chapter then. There are 42 verses, which is a bit more than usual. I mean, maybe it's sort of normal, but 42 is a fair number, a fairly solid number. And we have 7 sections. The first section is, Maitreya discusses the atom, it's verse 1 and verse 2. And then second section is from verse 3 to verse 15, divisions of time. Verse 3 to verse 15, divisions of time. Then, third section, Vidura asks about durations of life. And that is from verses 16 and 17. Just 2 verses, 16 and 17. Vidura asks about durations of life. Then, fourth section, verse 18 to verse 27, Maitreya explains the durations of millennia, etc. Sounds intriguing. We'll get there in due course and see what it's about. Verse 18 to verse 27, Maitreya explains the durations of millennia, etc. I guess, millennia means particular periods of time, and maybe some other periods of time which are not as great as being in the millennia category. So, okay, then the fifth section, verse 28 to verse 39, divisions in Brahma's lifetime. 28 to 39, divisions in Brahma's lifetime. And then the sixth section, which is just verses 40 and 41, that's going into the structure of the universe. 40 and 41, the structure of the universe. And then finally, the seventh section is verse 42 on its own. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Right. Verse 42, Krishna is the cause of all causes. So, all right, there we go, devotees. Let us begin with the first section from verse 1 to verse 2, and we'll just read straight through them all. And Maitreya discusses the atom. Right. So Maitreya then is speaking, and he says, verse 1, the material manifestation's ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. It exists always as an invisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms. The material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by the common man. Let me just see what word. Yeah, okay. The word which is being translated as atom is anu, which is the standard Sanskrit term for atom. Right. So let's have a look at the purport. It's just a very short purport. So Prabhupada makes quite a striking statement in the first, right at the beginning of the purport. Srimad Bhagavatam's description of the atom is almost the same as modern sciences. What do you think of that? That's really interesting. The atomic description of Srimad Bhagavatam is almost the same as modern sciences. I think we may be quite surprised to hear that. Anyway, there you go. And this fact, that particular fact and just more information about atoms is further described in the Paramanu-vad of Kannada. Kannada is one of the great philosophers of India, ancient philosophers, and Paramanu-vad, vad of course means knowledge, param means supreme or super, and anu means, as we just read, atom, knowledge about the supreme atom, or something along those lines of Kannada. So Prabhupada goes on, though, that as this verse is said, in modern science also, the atom is accepted as the ultimate indivisible particle of which the universe is composed. Right. So, anyway, let me just repeat something, one sentence from the translation itself, which is very much related. Yeah, it's very nicely put that the atom, it exists always as an indivisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms. So in other words, in terms of this discussion, everything is just made of atoms, and when the particular, like our bodies, are destroyed, but the atoms are not, the atoms just remain. They, as the verse says, the atoms, or the atom exists always as an invisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms. I mean, I find that very interesting indeed, actually. Yeah. So it's really just pointing out the superficial nature of life on the material level. On the material level, everybody thinks that I am me. I mean, obviously they think I am this body, and this body is me. But when the form of the body is annihilated in due course, then it's the atoms are unaffected. You could say that. It's not that the atoms die exactly. They just get displaced, moved about. That's really interesting, isn't it? So Prabhupada continues that the purport there, Bhagavatam is the full text of all descriptions of knowledge, including the theory of atomism. Atomism. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, the atom is the minute, subtle form of eternal time. Krishna, Krishna. Well, yeah, I think we're going to come across more on that subject, so let's not go into it now. Rather, let's go on to verse 2. So, right, verse 2. Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms, without forming different bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. That's really, anyway, that point has been made in verse 1, in the verse and in the purport. Right, so that was the section, the first section then, which is particularly about atoms as such. Atoms as such. Now, the atoms are going to be part of the discussion, don't worry. But they are going to be part of the discussion in the context of divisions of time. All right, so yeah, section 2, divisions of time, verse 3 to verse 15. And as usual, we have to go through all the verses so we see the flow of the whole presentation of the section. Verse 3, one can estimate time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the almighty personality of Godhead Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. And verse 4, atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. Wow, this is really deep stuff, isn't it? This is just very deep. Verse 5. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. Just a sec, let me change my glasses. I'm sorry. Must change my glasses. These are much sharper. Right, here we go. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. Two atoms make one double atom, and 3 double atoms make one hexatom. Well, hex, after all, does mean 6 in, sort of Latin terminologies. This hexatom is visible in the sunshine which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hexatom goes up towards the sky. Verse 6, the time duration needed for the integration of 3 Trasarenus is called a truti. Actually, these terms, or Trasarenu at least, is going to be introduced by Prabhupada in the purport of verse 5. Anyway, let's just carry on. Now we're reading verse 6, translation. The time duration needed for the integration of 3 Trasarenus is called a truti, and 100 trutis makes 1 Vaidha. 3 Vedhas, not Vedas as in Vedas, but Vedhas, Vedhas. 3 Vedhas make 1 lover. Oh, this is very interesting. Verse 7, the duration of time of 3 lovers is equal to 1 nimesha. The combination of 3 nimeshas makes 1 kshana. 5 kshanas combined together make 1 kashta, and 15 kashtas make 1 lagu. These are all classic Vedic divisions, divisions of time. And we'll read the purport when we get there, but I can just mention here in the purport, I can see Prabhupada says that 1 lagu equals 2 minutes. So verse 8, 15 lagus make 1 nadika, which is also called a danda. 2 dandas make 1 muhurta, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night, according to human calculation. All right. Verse 9, the measuring pot for 1 nadika, or danda, can be prepared with a 6 pala weight, 14-ounce pot of copper, in which a hole is bored with a gold probe, weighing 4 masha and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called 1 danda. gosh. I mean, this is incredible. Incredible. All right, let's go on. Verse 10. Verse 10. It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month. 11. The aggregate of 2 fortnights. All right. The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pita planets. Two of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. I mean, just see how it's expanding. Now we're up to 6 months. There's a measurement for 6 months. Verse 12, 2 solar movements make 1 day and night of the demigods, and that combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years. Right. So verse 13. Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. Right, okay, eternal Kala. Verse 14. There are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own samvatsara. We'll go through all this in due course. Verse 15. O Vidura, the sun enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. He diminishes the duration of life of all living entities in order to release them from their illusion of material attachment, and he enlarges the path of elevation to the heavenly kingdom. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity. That's the sun. Yeah. He thus moves in the firmament. Firmament basically means the sky, or the heavens even, in a very classical sense. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity, and therefore everyone should offer him respects once every 5 years with all ingredients of worship. Wow, this is really amazing. All right, so here we go, devotees, from verse 3. So the section is divisions of time from verse 3 to verse 15, and let's just go through it in detail. Now, there's not a lot of purports, I must say, but anyway, there are some, and they do have some important elaborations. So, right, verse 3. One can estimate time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he's not visible in the physical world. Right. There's no purport. Let's go on to verse 4. For which there is a purport. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. I mean, this is sort of like quite a revelation, isn't it? It's quite amazing. So, okay, now here we go. Here's an interesting purport here. Listen to this. Prabhupada begins by saying that time and space are two correlative or correlative terms. You know, that's such a unusual term that I'm going to look in the dictionary here. Mutually related. This is the thing. Mutually correlative terms, two correlative terms, mutually related, having a mutual grammatical relation and regularly used together, either and or, are correlative conjunctions. Correlatively, correlatively, adverb. Okay. So, yeah, example of correlative terms. Okay, now this is good. Listen to this. She is both intelligent and beautiful. These are correlative terms. Yeah. I will either go for a hike or stay home and watch TV. Well, that's not me, because I wouldn't watch TV. I mean, I pray to the Lord. I wouldn't. I really don't think I would at all. But you see, correlative, they are related to each other. Yeah, they're used together. A mutual grammatical relation, mutually related, and regularly used together. Right. So go for a hike or stay home. These are mutually related. Jerry is neither rich nor famous. I don't know if it's Jerry, but whoever he is not only intelligent, but also very funny. These are, it's an important concept. Here's some correlative conjunction pairs. Either or. You're familiar with that? Either or. Neither nor. Such that whether or, not only, but also, both and, as many as, no sooner than. Okay, so anyway, as far as we're concerned, what we're trying to do here, devotees, Prabhupada has said that time and space are two correlative terms, means they go together. They have a mutual connection and they exist mutually together. Time, and here we go, listen to this. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. Yeah, so you might say, time is measured in terms of its covering, of time covering a certain space of atoms. I mean, I think we can sort of envisage, or at least have some idea of atoms taking up space. You have one atom, and then atom 2, and atom 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now you've got 10 atoms, and they might, I don't know if, well, they wouldn't cover that much space, but let's just say they cover that much space. One after the other, you come to this amount of space is taken up by 10 atoms. So time is measured in terms of time covering a certain space of atoms. Now, what does that mean? Time is covering atoms. Atoms, there's 10 atoms, right, in that space. So that's a certain space of atoms. But time is measured in terms of time covering that space. So what is this? It sounds a little confusing, at least to me. But Srila Prabhupada elaborates, and here now, this is very important. Standard time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun. The time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. Well, yeah, we said that our 10 atoms, they covered that much space or whatever. One of them covered, I guess, that amount of space. So the amount of time it takes the sun to cover that amount of space, that is called atomic time. That's interesting, isn't it? It's very, I was thinking of saying down to earth, but I won't say down to earth because it's pretty way out. And it's out in outer space too. But it's very pragmatic because the time is moving. I mean, the time is moving. Well, the time is definitely moving. But the sun is moving. The sun is definitely moving. And the amount of time the sun requires to pass across one atom, that's sort of the fundamental particle of time, division of time. I hope you get the idea. Yeah. It's not just like our watches or our clocks or our telephones, My one, well, it doesn't exactly have a second hand, but you know what it's like. Watches have second hands. And you see that 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But who said there's a period of time called 1 second? And how long is it? Who said that? I mean, there's no real harm with it, but it's just a human concoction. But the time, I mean, the sun crossing one atom, which is the smallest particle of existence, that's something real. It's not just some arbitrary, like distances. Like in America, it's 1 mile. And I think just about everywhere else in the world, it's 1 kilometer. And it should be in America too, if they got themselves together. Excuse me, Americans. But they're just arbitrary. Now, a mile is 1,760 yards. Says who? It's arbitrary. It's just, you could do it any way you like, actually. And you couldn't say that it's wrong. But now this is very, very practical and real. The amount of time the sun takes to cross one atom, that's the fundamental particle of time, atomic time. And then, to go to the other extreme, the greatest time of all covers the entire existence of the non-dual manifestation. Okay, anyway, Prabhupada goes on to give some further elaborations on the principle, I guess more than anything. The greatest time of all covers the whole material manifestation, just the whole thing, the whole material world. And Prabhupada, these points, we just got to go through them all in detail. Each planet has its particular orbit for rotating, in which it moves without deviation, and similarly the sun has its orbit. Yes. So Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, the complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution, measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary systems until the end of creation, is known as the supreme Kala. And Kala, generally speaking, is the Sanskrit term for time. Yeah. So that is then the whole period, from the creation through the maintenance, through to the end of the dissolution, the end. It's all measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary systems until the creation's destroyed, and it is known as the supreme Kala. Excuse me. Unfortunately, my health is not good. Actually, I have COVID, but it's not so serious. But it's something. Right, so on to verse 5. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make one double atom, and 3 double atoms make one hex atom. This hex atom is visible in the sunshine which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hex atom goes up towards the sky. Gee, this is incredible, isn't it? This is just, Srimad Bhagavatam's completely mind-blowing. Completely. How to understand the atom, but in actual practical terms, as particles of reality. And they're observable the observable parts that the atoms have to play in reality as we know it. So, right, let's have a look at the very short purport, but it's really important. So the atom is indivisible. So, we made the point when we first, right at the beginning of this chapter, that everything is made of atoms. But when the thing is destroyed, like this body, or this mouse, it's made up of atoms. But when the thing is destroyed, the atoms are not. So the atom is described as an invisible, I put indivisible. The atom is invisible. But when 6 atoms combine, they're called a trasarenu. A trasarenu. Okay. That term is not actually in the verse itself anyway. Prabhupada's just presenting it here. When 6 atoms combine, the combined form is called a trasarenu. And the trasarenu is visible in the sunshine, pouring through the holes of a window screen. Now, you're going to have to try it out, devotees. And I really suggest you do. And when the conditions are suitable, you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see these tiny little thingies in the sunshine going up or sort of moving in the sunshine when it comes through the window, basically. Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't think you can always just look out the window and just see it, but when the sun shines shining in very nicely on a bright, clear day, then you should be able to see some trasarenu. Yeah. Okay, verse 6. The time duration needed for the integration of 3 trasarenus is called a truti, and 100 trutis make 1 Vaidha. 3 Vaidhas make 1 lava. Right. Okay. So here's an interesting point in the purport of this verse 6. If a second, 1 second, devotees, 1 second, if a second is divided into 1,687.5 parts, each part is the duration of a truti. Well, okay. I mean, this is all pretty incredible sounding, but I mean, it's really, it's science. So let me just read it again. It is calculated that if a second is divided into 1,687.5 parts, each part is the duration of a truti, which is the time occupied in the integration of 18 atomic particles. Such a combination of atoms into different bodies creates the calculation of material time. The sun, well, we talked about that, isn't it? The sun has to cross 1 atom. That's the smallest duration of time, that's atomic time. But these are now much, much bigger divisions of time. And there was nothing, Prabhupada didn't comment on it, and the verse did not elaborate on the division of time called a lava. And you know what the verse says? Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Right, lava matra. Normally speaking, when we talk of a lava, at least we hear of it as being 1/16 of a second, which seems such on a practical level of utilization, unless of course you use a a stopwatch of some sort. I mean, what's 1/16 of a second? I'm going to go out. I'll be back in 3 minutes and 40 40 seconds and 3 lovers. Are we going to be using that? No, we're not. Of course, with computers and, highly technical calculations and things like that, that becomes another thing altogether. But otherwise, just in practical everyday life, to say, try and be back in 5 lovers. If a lover's 1/16 of a second, try and be back in 5 lovers if you can. Please don't take as long as 8 lovers. Yeah, anyway, I think you get the idea. But from the technical scientific point of view, of course, it's interesting and it's very important. Right, so here we go. So the bottom line becomes, though, that the sun is the central point for calculating all durations of time. All right, let's go on to verse 7. The duration of time into 3 lovers is equal to 1 nimesha. The combination of 3 nimeshas makes 1 kshana. 5 kshanas together make 1 kashta, and 15 kashtas make 1 lagu. And let's look at the purport. Srila Prabhupada does a pretty amazing, gives a pretty amazing statement that by calculation it's found that 1 lagu is equal to 2 minutes. What do you think of that? Anyway, you can work back through these things. And you see Prabhupada's point here in the purport of verse 7. The atomic calculation of time in terms of Vedic wisdom may be converted into present time with this understanding. So there you go, devotees. We can actually use this. And I'm sure in due course, devotees will start using this as Krishna consciousness becomes more and more established. But for the time being, verse 8, 15 lagus make 1 nadika, which is also called a danda. 2 dandas make 1 muhurta, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night. So muhurta, Prabhupada talks about muhurtas, and the general understanding that we are given of what is a muhurta, like the Brahma muhurta, the most auspicious time of the day, that special part of the morning, is generally what we're told is that a muhurta we can take as being 45 minutes. So now, going on to verse 9, Srila Prabhupada gives another just really amazing application of this. Well, not Prabhupada, but the Bhagavatam, Maitreya Muni. The measuring pot for 1 nadika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pala weight, 14 ounce pot of copper. in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masha and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water with the hole, with the hole bored in it, when the pot with the hole bored in it is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called 1 danda. That's amazing. So, okay, let's see what Prabhupada says here. It is advised herein that the bore in the copper measuring pot must be made with a probe weighing not more than 4 masha and measuring not longer than 4 fingers. This regulates the diameter of the hole. The pot is submerged in water, and the overflooding time is called a danda. This is another way of measuring the duration of a danda, just as time is measured by sand in a glass. I think you must have all seen that. That's not uncommon, actually, that they're measuring, time measuring devices, which are two circular, two balls of glass, hollow, with a channel between them, and the amount of and with sand in them, and the amount of time it takes for the sand to go through the hole to the bottom one is the amount of time required for, it depends. Well, sometimes, would you believe? Sometimes they use them for measuring how long to cook an egg. Hare Krishna. Excuse us, but that's a fact, at least in Western society. So therefore Srila Prabhupada makes the point, and what a point it is. In Vedic times, there was no dearth, no shortage of information in physics, chemistry, or higher mathematics. Measurements were calculated in different ways, as simply as could be done. Right. All right, so let's get on to verse 10. It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month. Okay? See, now we've really come out, haven't we, from the infinitesimal to the really, we're now talking about a month, a unit of time called a month, which can be measured in exactly these terms of the sun crossing atoms. In this case, crossing quite a few atoms. The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pita planets, the forefathers. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. Isn't that amazing? Now, through the same system, we've come to the point of measuring 6 months. the complete movement of the sun from the southernmost position to the northernmost. Means from, what would we call it? The summer solstice to the winter something or other. The longest day and the shortest night to the longest night and the shortest day. That's 6 months. 2 solar movements make one day and night of the demigods. And that combination of day and night is one complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years. So none of these verses, 10, 11, or 12, none of them had a purport. So we go on now to verse 13. Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal time. Eternal time, that's a fact. But it really is referring to, what may be more sort of appropriate to refer the term to refer to it by is Kala Chakra. Right. So, Brahma Samhita, Prabhupada makes the point, Brahma Samhita says, the sun is the eye of the Lord. Look at that. And all this time, all of it is measured in terms of the sun crossing atoms. So anyway, the sun is the eye of the Lord. It rotates in a particular orbit. So similarly, from the sun down to the atom, all bodies, whatever bodies there are, they're under the influence of the Kala Chakra, the orbit of eternal time. So the point is made, though. Let me just read this last sentence again. Similarly, beginning from the sun down to the atom, all bodies are under the influence of the Kala Chakra, or the orbit of eternal time, and each of them has a scheduled orbital time of 1 samvatsara. Right, okay, verse 14. There are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own samvatsara. I see. It seems like samvatsara is relative to the particular thing. Yeah, that's the point here in verse 14. That there are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament. And of course, the sun is one thing, the moon is something else. The stars are many different things, and other luminaries in the heavens, in the sky, they're another type of thing. So each of them has its own samvatsara. And what was samvatsara? Scheduled orbital time. The scheduled time it takes for them to do their orbit. Right-ho. So let's have a look at this purport here. Oh, Krishna. Verse 14. This looks complicated. Well, actually, no. Our time is up. Our time is up. So we'll begin from this tomorrow when our minds are fresh. So, yeah, this is really like an analysis of all but the most fantastically minute. Although, I mean, I suppose we could make those fantastically minute calculations also if we wanted to. Yeah, so we'll go into this tomorrow. It's very interesting. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.